I never thought I'd be that neighbor, the one whispered about in hallways, cursed under breaths, and painted as the villain of the building. But here I am, sitting in my apartment, blinds drawn, pretending not to hear the shrieks and angry knocks of parents outside my door. It all started with a soccer ball. Our apartment complex has this big paved courtyard in the middle. No grass, no real playground, just concrete surrounded by flower beds and a few benches. For years, it's been the unofficial playground for the kids in the building. Every evening, they'd swarm the space with balls, scooters, bikes, anything that could make noise or crash into walls. I never complained. Not once. I told myself, they're kids. Let them have fun. But then things changed. One Saturday morning, I was working from home, trying to meet a deadline. Suddenly, bang! My coffee cup rattled on the desk. I looked up, and there was a soccer ball smearing mud across my window. Seconds later, crash. Another ball hit the glass hard enough that I thought it might shatter. I went outside and asked them to be careful. They nodded, giggled, and within 5 minutes they were at it again. This turned into a daily ritual. I'd ask politely, they'd ignore me. Soon, it wasn't just the balls. Kids were riding scooters into parked cars, climbing the flower beds, ripping out plants the residents paid for. Once, I caught a group of them balancing on my downstairs neighbor's car roof like it was a jungle gym. The final straw came when I found scratches on my own car. Deep, fresh ones that looked suspiciously like scooter handles. Nobody admitted it, of course. The parents shrugged, saying, "Kids will be kids." That's when I snapped. I contacted the landlord and the Residents Association. I provided photos, timestamps, even a video of kids throwing rocks at the benches. I didn't ask for much, just some rules. Maybe limit ball games to a specific time or designate another area. 2 weeks later, the landlord issued a new policy: no ball games, scooters, or bikes in the communal courtyard. I thought it was fair, reasonable, even. But the fallout was nuclear. Parents started glaring at me in the elevator. Kids pointed at my door and hissed snitch. Someone slipped a note under my mat that said child hater. Move out if you don't like it here. My so-called friend in the building, Sarah, turned on me completely. She has 2 boys who basically lived in that courtyard, and she confronted me one night in front of other neighbors. "You've stolen their childhood," she said, eyes blazing. "All because of a few scratches on your stupid car. Pathetic." I wanted to yell back that it wasn't just about my car. It was about respect, about safety, about property. But my voice caught in my throat, and all I could do was stand there, red-faced, as people muttered and shook their heads at me. That was betrayal number 1. Betrayal number 2 came from the landlord himself. He had promised anonymity when I filed the complaints. But somehow, everyone knew it was me. Sarah swore he slipped up at a meeting, casually mentioning my name as the person who'd raised concerns. Whether it was a mistake or deliberate, I'll never know, but it branded me as the villain permanently. Now, every time I walk through the courtyard, I feel dozens of eyes on me. The laughter of the kids has turned into this sinister, mocking sound. Parents loudly reminisce about the good old days before the rules. Someone even keyed the word rat into the paint on my car. The worst part, my own sister sided against me. She lives a few blocks away and used to visit often with her little girl. But now she says she feels awkward bringing her daughter here, since there's no safe place to play. She told me flat out that I overreacted, and that I always ruin things for other people. Hearing that from her cut deeper than any scratch on my car ever could. So now I'm trapped in this apartment, isolated. The communal space is eerily quiet most evenings, the rules actually being enforced, but I can feel the resentment boiling under the surface. Every interaction is colder, sharper. And sometimes, when I look out at the empty courtyard, I wonder, did I protect my peace, or did I become the villain of an entire community? For weeks after the rule went into effect, I thought maybe things would settle. Maybe people would cool down once they realized the courtyard wasn't some magical playground but just a slab of concrete. But instead, the resentment only grew, mutating, spreading like a virus through the building. At first, it was just cold shoulders in the elevator. Neighbors whispering as soon as I walked in. Then came the subtle sabotage. Someone started leaving trash bags outside my door. Raw food, chicken bones, banana peels, like they wanted the smell to drive me insane. Another time, my doormat disappeared, replaced with one that read "No fun allowed." I laughed it off, told myself, don't give them the satisfaction. But deep down, I knew this was war. The betrayal from my sister hit hardest. She stopped visiting entirely. When I asked if she'd come by for coffee, she said, "Why would I? You've poisoned that place." Her little girl, my niece, used to run into my arms every time she saw me. Now, when I FaceTime her, she says, "Mommy says you don't like kids." That broke me in ways I didn't expect. I wasn't trying to ban children from existence. I just wanted respect for shared property. But somewhere along the way, I became the villain in everyone's story. Even Sarah, my former friend in the building, twisted the knife deeper. She started throwing little playdates in her apartment, inviting all the other parents. Loud laughter and thudding feet echoed through the walls, a reminder that life went on, just without me. Sometimes she'd post photos on Facebook with captions like, "When kids are allowed to just be kids, community spirit." Everyone liked, commented, tagged. I knew the post wasn't meant for her friends, it was meant for me. Then came the bigger escalation. One night, after working late, I returned to find my car egged. Yolks dripping down the windshield, shells crunching underfoot. A note tucked under the wiper read, "Snitches get stitches." That's when fear really set in. This wasn't just petty revenge anymore. It was hostility. And the sick part, no one cared. When I reported it to the landlord, he sighed and said, "Well, maybe if you'd handled things differently, people wouldn't be so upset." So now the landlord, the very person who was supposed to protect tenants, had turned against me too. The betrayal stung because I had trusted him to do the right thing, to keep my name out of it. Instead, he left me to be the scapegoat. Psychologically, it started eating me alive. I avoided leaving my apartment during the day, sneaking out late at night to buy groceries. I flinched at the sound of children laughing, convinced it was mocking. Even footsteps in the hall made my heart race. What if they were coming for me again? And yet a twisted part of me started to wonder if maybe everyone was right. Had I overreacted? Was I really the villain? I replayed it all in my head, the scratched car, the broken flowers, the endless thuds of soccer balls. They were real, weren't they? I wasn't imagining them. But when an entire building treats you like a monster, you start to second-guess your own memories. Maybe I did betray something bigger, the sense of community, of letting kids have joy where they could. Maybe by protecting my peace, I'd stolen theirs. The worst betrayal, though, came from someone I never expected. My downstairs neighbor, Mrs. Patel, sweet, elderly, always offering me tea, had once complained privately about the noise too. She'd told me, "It's impossible to nap with all the screaming." She was the one who encouraged me to file a formal complaint. She even promised, "I'll back you up if anyone asks." But when the policy hit and people demanded to know who caused it, she turned her back. She told everyone, I never had a problem with the kids. Only she did. I wanted to scream. You told me to do it. You pushed me to take action. But instead, I stood there silent as Sarah and the other parents nodded, cementing my image as the lone villain. Mrs. Patel wouldn't even look me in the eye after that. Another knife between the ribs. Now the courtyard is silent most evenings. No soccer balls, no scooters, no laughter. Some might call it peace, but for me, it feels like a graveyard. Because even though the rules worked, even though I technically won, I lost everything else. The community. Friendships. My sister. My reputation. Sometimes I sit by the window, staring at the empty courtyard, and think, was this betrayal or justice? Or maybe both. Weeks turned into months, and what I once thought of as my home started to feel like hostile territory. Every creak of the pipes, every sudden slam of a door echoed like a warning shot. My phone buzzed constantly with group chat notifications, neighbors posting angry memes, subtle digs, and jokes about how the building was no longer kid-friendly thanks to a certain Grinch upstairs. Even though they never used my name, everyone knew. I stopped reading them after a while, but the damage was already done. I couldn't escape the sense that my every movement was being watched, judged. The paranoia grew sharper when I noticed small things missing from my hallway storage cage in the basement. A tool set, an old bike helmet, even a winter coat. Not enough to report to the police without sounding paranoid, but enough to send the message, "We know how to get to you." I started locking my door twice, then 3 times, then checking it again before bed. Some nights I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying the voices of Sarah, my sister, and Mrs. Patel, their betrayals overlapping, louder and louder, until my chest tightened and I could barely breathe. What hurt most wasn't the strangers. It was the people who'd smiled at me once, shared coffee, or confided their own frustrations. They'd used me to do their dirty work, then abandoned me to take the fall. One rainy Thursday night, I caught myself doing something I never imagined. Crouched by the living room blinds, watching the courtyard like a prisoner keeping lookout. It was empty, wet, lifeless. No kids, no families, no laughter. I had won. And yet, the silence pressed down heavier than the noise ever had. I whispered out loud, as if to someone, "This isn't what I wanted. I didn't ask for this." But no one answered. Just the patter of rain. The breaking point came with my niece's birthday party. My sister invited everyone. Sarah, the other parents, even Mrs. Patel. Everyone but me. I called to ask why. She sighed, voice cold. "You've made yourself unwelcome. Don't make me explain it again." That sentence looped in my mind for days. You've made yourself unwelcome. Unwelcome in my own family. Unwelcome in my own building. Unwelcome in my own life. A week later, I found a new note under my door. No eggs this time, no threats. Just 4 words scrawled in thick black marker. "You are the problem." I sat on the floor, holding the paper, my hands trembling. For a long time, I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. Because part of me started to believe it. Maybe I was the traitor, not them. Maybe I had betrayed something bigger than friendship or community. The unwritten rule that you endure discomfort for the sake of belonging. That you keep your mouth shut and accept chaos because it's better than being alone. But I hadn't endured. I had acted. I had chosen myself over them. And now, I was paying the price. That night, I dreamed I was back in the courtyard. Children were laughing, running, screaming, but the ball they kicked wasn't a ball at all. It was my heart, bouncing and rolling across the concrete while they cheered. Sarah picked it up, waved it high, and everyone clapped. Even my sister. Even Mrs. Patel. When I woke up, my cheeks were wet with tears. These days, I don't know what betrayal stings worse. Theirs, for abandoning me, mocking me, turning me into the villain. Or mine, for betraying my own peace of mind, convincing myself I could ever live among them again. Because the truth is, the kids didn't just lose their play space. I lost everything. And I can't decide if I destroyed the community or if it destroyed me first.